In the early hours of yesterday, January 3rd, 2026, the sky over Caracas didn't just turn black, it went silent, as more than 150 US aircraft descended on the presidential palace in a raid codenamed Operation Absolute Resolve. The world watched the literal decapitation of a sovereign state. Within hours, the man who had ruled Venezuela for over a decade, Nicolás Maduro, was blindfolded, handcuffed, and flown to New York City to face a trial for narco-terrorism. But as the smoke clears over the La Carlota airbase, a much older, much deeper war is still being fought in the streets. It's not a war fought with B-1B Lancers or special forces. It's a war fought for the very survival of value itself. For years, the Venezuelan Bolivar hasn't been money. It's been a weapon used by a regime to strip its people of their future. But today, with the US military declaring it will run the country and seize the world's largest oil reserves to fund a transition, the people of Venezuela are facing a terrifying new question. When your government is gone and your borders are a military blockade, what do you use for money? To find the answer, you have to look at this invasion through the prism of Bitcoin. To understand the chaos of this morning, you have to understand the theft of the last 10 years. In Caracas, money isn't something you count. It's something you weigh on a butcher's scale just to buy a gallon of milk. When your currency loses 99% of its value, your life savings become literal paper waste. You've seen the photos, people weaving handbags out of worthless banknotes because the paper is worth more than the denomination printed on it. This is the terminal stage of soft money. In the Bitcoin world, we talk about the 21 million coin cap as a mathematical law. In Venezuela, the only law was the printing press. The Maduro regime used the central bank as a personal ATM, printing bolivares until the numbers on the bills had so many zeros, they became a joke. But while the state was destroying the physical money, a shadow economy was rising. A group of citizens realized that if they couldn't trust the men in the palace, they had to trust the math in the machine. Here is the part that usually stops people in their tracks. Because of government subsidies intended to keep the population quiet, Venezuela has, ironically, the cheapest electricity on the planet. It was essentially free. While the regime was busy collapsing the economy, thousands of Venezuelans were using the government's own subsidized power to mine Bitcoin. In the barrios and high-rises, behind triple-locked doors, the low mechanical hum of ASIC miners became the sound of the resistance. They were using the regime's resources to create a global digital asset that the regime couldn't touch, freeze, or devalue. Imagine the risk. If the secret police heard that hum, they didn't just arrest you, they looted you. Mining wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It was a high-stakes survival strategy. People were risking their lives for digital bits because they understood that in a failing state, Bitcoin wasn't a volatile asset. It was the only stable thing they had. Compared to a bolivar that loses 10% of its value in an afternoon, a Bitcoin that drops 10% in a month looks like a rock of stability. But then came yesterday. Operation Absolute Resolve. With the US Navy patrolling the coast and the FAA grounding all flights, Venezuela has effectively become a digital island. The US has signaled they will run the country and modernize the oil infrastructure to pay for the transition. This is the ultimate resource play. For many, this is liberation. For others, it is a new form of colonialism. But How do you send money to your grandmother in a city where the banks are dark and the soldiers are at the street corners? This is where the Bitcoin Prism reveals its true power. Bitcoin is the only asset in human history that can bypass a naval blockade. It doesn't care about the Monroe Doctrine. It doesn't care about US indictments or the sudden vacancy of the presidential palace. While the traditional banking system is frozen, the peer-to-peer markets are on fire. A son in Miami can send Satoshis to a mother in Caracas, and she can trade those bits for food or medicine via WhatsApp groups and local dealers, bypassing every government toll booth and official exchange rate. For the first time, a population is escaping a geopolitical collapse without ever leaving their homes. We often hear critics call Bitcoin a speculative bubble or magic internet money, but those people are usually speaking from the comfort of a stable dollar or a strong pound. Through the Venezuelan prism, the luxury of investing doesn't exist. There is only surviving. Venezuela is the canary in the coal mine for the 21st century. It is a brutal reminder of what happens when the wall between the state and the money is knocked down. Whether it's a corrupt dictator or a foreign military intervention, the result for the average person is the same: the loss of agency. Bitcoin changed that. It provided a fixed point in a world of total chaos. It proved that you don't need a passport to protect your wealth. You just need a private key. As the US military moves into the Caracas oil fields today, the world is focused on who will control the land and the pipes. But the real story is happening on the screens and in the digital wallets of the people. The story of the Bolivar is a story of theft. The story of Bitcoin in Venezuela is a story of human ingenuity. It forces us to ask one final, uncomfortable question. If the world's largest oil reserves and a massive military couldn't protect the value of a nation's money, what makes you so sure yours is safe? The world is changing faster than the headlines can keep up, and the view is always clearer through the Bitcoin Prism. If you found value in this breakdown of the Caracas invasion, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It's the only way to ensure you don't get left in the dark when the next system fails. Thanks for watching the Bitcoin Prism. We'll see you in the next block.